Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. I'm Carrie, this is Pins and Books, and today we're going to be doing the January and February reading wrap-up. So I'm going to be separating it into different categories, all of which will mean different things, and then from there I will organize them, of course, by rating, so on and so forth. It's again, this is my first one doing one of these, but I'm pretty excited. So this is January over here. Not a lot of books on this list, but you guys will remember the February TBR, which I will post in the link, post in the description down below if you want to rewatch that one, which was a much larger book list. So the first thing we do is go over our statistics. So our statistics for January are going to be fairly simple. Books read were only 4. So only completed or DNF'd 4 books. Of those, I completed 3. Read 907 pages. We had no audiobooks, so big goose egg on the hours listened. Average rating was only 3.39 stars, so not such a great month. 1 DNF, and I started 2 series. So now for our casualties. So our casualties of war are basically going to be books that I did not open at some point, but I intended to either start reading or read, but I just didn't get to it. Luckily, I actually have no casualties from January. I managed to crack open, even if I did not finish, I managed to crack open every single book. Our next category is going to be our Fatally Wounded. Fatally Wounded is going to be our DNF books. They're DNF'd for multiple reasons. I didn't like them, low rating, whatever reason I did not finish the book, and I do not intend to either ever finish up the book. So for that, I had one book. It was, hopefully I will remember to put a picture of it here, my library book, Cum Laude, which was an ebook. The perspectives on that book were not great. So Cum Laude only ended up getting a rating of 0.5 stars. I did not like, I was mildly interested in to see kind of where the book would go, but it didn't hold my interest for the fact of the changing point of views. Don't get me wrong, I love a book that changes point of views. I like being able to see different perspectives from different people, even if the other characters do not see that at the time. What I didn't like was the fact that the point of views kept changing with no indication of when they were changing or who they were going to. You'd be reading one character's point of view for several paragraphs or several pages, and the next thing you know, in a continuing paragraph, there's no spacing in between them, you're going to a completely different perspective. And I couldn't finish it that way. I understand that this author, Cicely von Ziegesar, I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I realized that this author has a very, very successful book series called Gossip Girl. I do intend to at least try to read that one as well. I've been curious about it ever since I heard about it, but it's not one that Cum Laude is not one that I will be continuing. 0.5 stars. It is the lowest rating of the month of January. So the next one is going to be our Wounded Yet Survived. So these are going to be our survivors of the battle, but I didn't get to finish them for whatever reason, due to just like running out of time. That's pretty much the main reason. So I have 2 books that did that. The first one is A Dance of Dragons. I just haven't finished it. I'd intended to, but I probably won't get to it until April, because that's going to be when my Fable book club is reading it. I was reading ahead of the Fable book club, and I was reading this one when I was like, you know what, I want to try doing the TBR games with the different selected TBR lists. So I got about not even halfway through this one. I am really enjoying it. Like I said, I do intend to pick it up, which is why the bookmark is still in existence. I intend to pick it up in April when my Fable book club does. The only other book on this list so far is going to be A Day of Fallen Night. So A Day of Fallen Night I did get roughly halfway through, and I literally just ran out of time in the month. I finished the month reading this, and I even moved it onto my February TBR, and it's now on my March TBR as well, for a spoiler for the next video that you guys see. But this I am definitely wanting to continue this book very, very badly. It is so good right now, and I can't wait to finish it. So our next category of books is going to be our survivors. These are going to be books that I 100% finished. I either enjoyed, didn't enjoy, but I did finish all the way to the very last page. So starting us off is going to be Designing the Mind, which is the principles of psychotecture. So basically this is about redesigning how your mind works, getting away from like the stereotypes, and being able to like just basically, again, just redesign how your mind works, how you think. It was very, very interesting. Nonfiction is not really my thing, but it was very, very interesting read, and one that I will probably be looking at again in the future too, if I'm wanting to change the way I'm thinking about certain aspects of life. Highly recommend. I gave it 4 stars. My enjoyment was only 3 stars. Again, it's not my kind of book. I had to do reading sprints in order to even finish the book when I did. The start of the book is a 4. It even tells, I gave it 4 stars. It even tells you, like, as you can see right here, mind is a machine. Theory of practice of psychotecture. So, I mean, like, again, it was very, very interesting. Yeah, start is only 4 stars on this one. Again, very interesting. It starts off by saying you're not going to get anything from this book unless you're wanting to change the way you think. Characters, there were no characters in this book, is a nonfiction. Atmosphere, again, is a 5. He kept me in, you know, he stays on track. Ending's only a 4 because, again, I just was losing enjoyment in the book and losing all that stuff. And style was only 3. Again, I'm used to different things. So it is really good. They mention modern day people like Elon Musk. They also mention Stoicism and Buddhism and different things like that. Again, really, really good book. Highly recommend. 4 stars. The next book on the list was actually the last book that I completed, and it was The Hobbits. The Hobbit only get 4.5 stars. I greatly enjoyed it. The start was amazing. The plot, it stayed on plot. The ending was great. The style is great. The 2 things that made it not 5 stars were the characters and the atmosphere. So the characters itself was very, again, this is a children's book. He wrote this so Tolkien wrote this for his kids when they were children. So for that, I labeled it as a children's book. That being said, characters have absolutely no depth. I don't feel like there's really any character growth except for Bilbo, which is fine. But I don't feel like there's any character depth in the dwarves. I understand that side characters aren't supposed to really have a lot of depth, but there's no character growth, and there's a lot of information in it that you get at the end that it's not there. Plus the big fight at the very end, the war of the 5 armies, is not there. You get to see part of it, but because Bilbo gets hit in the head and gets knocked unconscious, don't get to see the fight. Which again, children's book, it's designed that way. I understand this, but I really wish I got to see it how Tolkien would have seen it, instead of just how we see it in the modern day trilogy of movies that we see. All in all, absolutely phenomenal. 4.5 stars. So the MVP for the month with 5 stars is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This is, I think, the first specifically mystery that I've actually ever read. I absolutely loved it. The twists, the turns, I couldn't put it down. There were some moments when I did want to put it down and I was just like, meh, it's not so great. But I really did not want to put it down. So this wins the MVP for January. Absolutely phenomenal book. 5 stars all the way through. Alrighty, so the next set of books, which is my February TBR, as you can see, this stack is almost as tall as I am sitting down, sitting up straight. Yay! Alright, so the reading stats for February are books that were read is 8. Again, not all the books I've opened, just the books I either DNF'd or completed. I completed 5 of them. I read 1,294 pages so far. We're still in the month of February. I still have a few days. Hours listened total so far 62 hours and 62.89 hours. Again, this is not including the ones I am currently reading because I am currently listening to an audiobook as well. Average rating is 3.61, so we did a little bit better on the ratings. We had one that was a reread, 3 DNFs, and I started 6 series. Alright, so Casualties of War, I'm starting with 2 books because they're part of the same series. It's going to be Ice Like Fire and Snow Like Ashes. Snow Like Ashes being the first one, Ice Like Fire being the second book in the series. I just didn't get to these, unfortunately. I am excited to read them, which is why Snow Like Ashes is in my March TBR as well. But I just haven't gotten to them yet. I know that this is an older series, but I'm excited to get started on it. I just haven't had the chance to. Alright, so the next book that I did not get to is The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdo. So this is the next book I didn't get to. It's just The Stardust Thief. Again, just didn't get to it. I just didn't have time, and my TBR was way too long. So I'm hopefully with my smaller March TBR, it will be easier to get to all of my physical TBR as well as my library TBR. So the next book I did not get to was A Heart So Fierce and Broken. Again, no time. It was just way too far to the bottom of the TBR list. Right, next book was the gifted book that I got for Christmas this last year, Court of the Vampire Queen. Again, just didn't have time. I picked a lot of books that are very, very girthy and just wasn't able to get to all of my books. The next book I didn't get to is The Golden Key, which was the lowest rated TBR, if I remember the prompt correctly. Again, it's an ebook, so it was on a lower list of the TBR, which is why I didn't get to it, which is why all my audiobooks are either finished or in progress, and my ebook is not. Alright, another book is Dumbledore. Again, I think this is actually supposed to be like the Rita Skeeter version that you actually see in the book. I'm not sure because I haven't read it, but again, it was not opened this month, so hopefully one day it will be. Alright, so our next casualty was Between Wrath and Mercy. Again, unfortunately, just didn't get to it. It is, it's gorgeous. I really want to read this one so badly, but I just didn't have enough time in the month. I would pick the largest TBR for the shortest month of the year. Next book, Good Girl, Bad Blood, the second book of the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. Again, just didn't get to it, and I'm kind of curious if I even kind of want to. But again, curious, want to finish the trilogy, needs to be finished. So the next book I didn't get to was The Druids, which I was actually kind of looking forward to. I was hoping it would give me some insight to maybe to one of the religions in the book that I'm currently writing. Unfortunately, like I said, I did not get to it, therefore it is a casualty of war. And the last book I did not get to was the bottom of the TBR list, A Day of Fallen Night, which is why I'm happier. It is much higher on the TBR list for this coming month. Now I can finally finish it, and I should have a quasi-easy time considering I am halfway done. So by order of star rating, from the lowest to the highest, my Fatally Wounded, these are my DNF books. These are my DNF books for the month with 0.25 stars, not even a whole star, was Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. I couldn't. I don't even think I got halfway through. I got 40 pages into this book before I was like, I gotta cut it. I'm not enjoying it. I was really hoping to read it in a day because it was no. I'm nothing against the author, Seth Grahame-Smith, but I could not get into this book like I did its inspiration, what it was inspired by. So the next book I DNF'd, this one is actually one that I'm going to be picking up again, and that is Count of Monte Cristo. The Count of Monte Cristo is a very, very long book. It is a classic, and I really have been wanting to read it for a while because it is a classic. I remember seeing a movie when I was a kid. Sorry, boyfriend's computer's going off over there. But I couldn't get into it. as an audiobook. There were moments I was like really into it. And then the last day I was listening to it, I listened to it for a good chunk of the day. And the only thing I remembered is that a guy was going to kill himself because he couldn't have his girl. Because she was going to be married off to someone else. That's the only thing I remember out of that last day of reading it. So therefore, eventually I will be going back. I will be reading it again. But just not at the moment, not until I get a physical copy of the book. The final book I DNF'd with 3.5 stars was The Book Thief. Again, nothing against this book. This book was done brilliantly. It's just, there was no connection for me to these characters in this book. It is about World War II in Germany with a little girl who is the book thief. And it's told, and actually the narrator is deaf. So, but I couldn't get into it. There was no emotion. I feel like there was no emotion. There was no suspense when there's supposed to be suspense for these characters in this book. I got 138 pages in. Again, as much as I enjoyed parts of the book, other parts I couldn't get into. And so unfortunately, it got DNF'd at 3.5 stars. So the next is going to be my Wounded But Survived. These are going to be books that I started but did not finish. This is going to include books that were not originally on the TBR. So the first one that I started but did not finish is called Blood and Empire. It is a book that I will be doing a review on once I finish it. It is from NetGalley. It's an ARC book. Touch and go on whether or not I'm enjoying it currently. It only has 1 star. But I am looking at, kind of trying to keep it going because there are parts that are really, really interesting. So the next book that I started but did not finish is another ARC book. It is called On Wings of Blood. So far, again, it is doing really, really well in my opinion. My enjoyment could be higher, but unfortunately right now, it's very confusing because it seems like the main character already has had their big adventure, but then all of a sudden they're reborn in another world that they have to do something else in. I haven't finished it. I haven't looked too much into it. But it is very interesting and weird all at the same time. So Where Shadows Meet is my next read. It is also an ARC read. I've only really read the prologue so far, and it's pretty good so far. I'm interested to see kind of where it goes. I'm not excited for it, but I am interested to kind of see where it goes. I'm wondering how the characters from the prologue are going to be in the actual world, how they're going to interact. One, I kind of figuring how they're going to interact already. The other one, I am definitely going to be more curious. I'm more curious about if they're even in it. I have learned that not all characters in the prologue are in the actual book, which takes me a while to get used to. The next book on my list that is called Immortal Dark. This is the last of my ARC reads at the moment, and so it comes. It's a magical realism fantasy type series. It's not like our world. It is a fantasy in the fact that it is its own world with its own lore, its own stuff like that. But you have people who can't use a type of magic called resonating, and then you have people who do, and some are in secret, some are not, and it's pulled me in so far. I mean, I don't know. It's also kind of giving me some Throne of Glass vibes, a little bit, that much. So for those of you who do not like Sarah J. Maas for whatever reason, I'm only kind of getting vibes from the main character about that much. Everything else so far seems to be very different. And I'm really, again, it's pulling me in. I'm really interested to see how it goes. The next book is actually on my physical TBR. It is the one I'm physically reading, and that is going to be Eye of the World with the Wheel of Time series. First book of the series. I am only just got halfway through it today, and it's the 25th, so I still have some ways to go. I don't feel like I'm going to finish by the end of the month, which is very sad, but it is what it is. And unfortunately, I've just been interested in a lot of other things, a lot of reading other things, as well as just life in general. I was sick for a good chunk of the month. I'm actually sick now. I have this massive migraine right now. But I'm still recording. I'm still trying to survive. Eye of the World so far is a 4.21 stars, and it's not even finished yet, so I haven't even rated the ending of it yet. Again, really interested in it. I can't wait to read the rest of it. Right now, today is just a little difficult, obviously, just because of my lovely headache. But again, there are some points to where I'm like, meh, and I go up and down and all this other stuff. the last book on my Wounded But Survived series or list is going to be Outlander. Outlander is the first in the Outlander series. It is very much an adult rating. It has a 2.5 spice level at 15 chapters in. Or at least I'm rating it 2.5 because while it fades to black, it's still very descriptive, if you understand what I mean. It's not a full-on 5 out of 5, but it is definitely 2.5 because it does fade to black, yet it is mildly descriptive, especially of the female anatomy. All in all, really good book. Adult, definitely. I'm enjoying it immensely. I am 12 and a half hours into it. Super excited to see how the rest of it goes. So out of the next series is going to be my survivors. These are going to be my completed fully star rated books. The lowest at 3.75 stars is Eragon. Eragon is a middle grade book. It's really good. I really enjoyed the book. It's definitely better than its movie counterpart. So if you've seen the movie and you liked the movie, read this. You will like this 1,000 times better. But again, it only got a 3.75 stars. The lowest rating being the plot. After that, the characters, and then the style of writing, and then the characters. There were just several moments of it where I was just reading to read it at that point. I am going to be reading the rest of the series. I do enjoy the rest of this. I did enjoy the book. Again, it's definitely a read book. I do recommend it. But again, it is mostly for your middle grade level. Maybe that's why I didn't enjoy it as much, because it is middle grade and it is not my go-to, which is not young adult, and new adult. But again, it was really enjoyable. So the next book, it was an audiobook that I had called The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. It is a mystery thriller adult novel, and I really enjoyed it after the first 10%. I had to get past the first 10% in order to really enjoy and delve into this book. Unfortunately, there was a part where like the character in the first 10%, it was very not so fun. The big thing about this mystery that makes it different is the fact that the main character is body jumping. But I will admit the characters in this book are not great. Again, there's really no connection to any of these characters. I understand the why, I understand what they're doing, I understand all this other stuff, but there's really no connection to any of these characters. But I did really enjoy them. I enjoyed the book greatly. The mystery is what I was really in there for, and it threw me off. I will fully admit this. It definitely threw me off. It got to a point where I was like, oh, okay, the mystery's solved and all this other stuff, and then it turned into, well, what the frick-a-frack? Why is it not going? And so again, really, really interesting. Highly recommend for everybody. So the next two books are 4.75 stars each. The first one is going to be the manga, The Ayakashi Hunter's Tainted Bride. I'm not going to go into too much detail about this particular book because I've already done a full-on review, which should have posted earlier on the 25th, which is today for me, for you guys. I'm good. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on it. Really good, really enjoyable. Go watch the review if you want to know more. It is coming out in March. It's also from NetGalley, so thank you NetGalley to all the ARC books that I got this month. I'm super excited to finish them. The next book is Lady Smoke. Lady Smoke is book 2 in the Ash Princess series. I finished this book in 3 days. It took me 3 days to finish a 13-hour book. I don't always just listen to audiobooks, but when I'm listening to audiobooks, unless that's the book I'm in the list to read, it doesn't make sense, I know. But I have so many books on this TBR that I was reading it interchangeably with whatever book I was physically reading as well. Again, I greatly enjoyed it. It was just really good. The lowest part of it for me was the start of the book, but I think part of that is because of the fact that I haven't read Ash Princess since 2020. So it's 5 years since I read and finished Ash Princess, which is the first book. So going into Lady Smoke 5 years later, I kind of had to do a rehash on who everyone was and what happened and all this other stuff. But again, really good enjoyment. For some reason, I put enjoyment as a 5. I probably should have put it as like a 4.5 or a 4.75. But I really enjoyed the book. And last but not least, my 5-star book. This will always be a 5-star in my mind. I've always greatly enjoyed it, and that's going to be my Pride and Prejudice. So Pride and Prejudice for me is just a classic. I fell in love with all of the characters. I fell in love with everything. It's also a gifted book by my grandfather before he had to go into a nursing home due to Alzheimer's. So that could be another reason why I love it so much and I love Austen so much. But Austen herself does absolutely phenomenal work. I haven't read any of her other books, but I do, again, I greatly enjoyed this book. I absolutely love this book. It will always get a 5 stars every time I read it, and I try to read it at least once a year, and it just coincided with the romance theme of the month, so therefore it was the first book that I read. It took me all of maybe 5 days to read it just because of her mild girthiness. But yeah, just absolutely beautiful, wonderfully done. I love the classic books. I love this classic. Highly recommend it to anyone. So this was the MVP of February. So at the end of these 2 months, I had 2 MVPs. For January, I had Good Girls Guide to Murder, and for February, I had Pride and Prejudice. Unfortunately, there can only be one that is the MVP of the year. And I'm going to say out of these 2, for the first bracket, but the war between books, the first one is going to go to Pride and Prejudice. Pride and Prejudice, again, was a 5 out of 5 on all counts. The characters are done beautifully. The style, all of it is just absolutely phenomenal. I absolutely love this book beyond death. This will always be the ultimate favorite book. Hopefully I'm kind of hoping it doesn't take MVP of the year or doesn't just automatically win, because it is the one that I love the most. Just looking at the star ratings, this one got 5 on all accounts, while this one did lack a little bit with the characters. I might go about rating it a little differently, but if I have to choose, even if I had to choose between which one I'm going to read or which one I had to go shelf for a hot minute, I would shelf this one and keep this one up on my bedside table at all times. I hope you guys enjoyed this little video. It was my first time doing a wrap-up video, and I'm doing 2 months at once, which is very confusing to me a little bit. I do plan on doing better hopefully in March. I hope to be doing more videos in March than I did in February. I have 5 ARC books that I'm currently reading. Hopefully we'll be able to get some reviews for those. And I have an idea on a little thing that I want to do with my other channel as well, to kind of bring the 2 of them together a little bit. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe. Give me tips, ideas on book or even writing ideas. Any tips on how to make my channel better. Different ideas for videos, different ways to do different things, and all that. But I will see you guys next time. And happy reading.